Good day and welcome again to Professional Skills 2. This is Lecture 11, and today we're going to be looking at setting goals for others. This lesson covers the basics of goal setting for others, and obviously in that, goal setting for yourself. The topics that we're going to cover include the basics of effective goals, the process of goal setting, and obtaining goal commitment. Please complete the self-assessment exercise on page 145 and again answer the questions. Do you agree with these results or do you find them surprising? So pause this video and play it again when you're done. Goals are really important in all arenas of life, and even more so in places like college and at work. You need to know where you're going. So just imagine a situation in which your lecturers left you alone to your own devices and allowed you to submit what you thought was relevant at whenever you thought was the best time. What do you think would be the result of this? And what do you think would be the result of the above in a workplace? I don't think the result would be really good, unless people were incredibly dedicated and self-motivated and disciplined. I don't think that this would work in all cases. Might work in some, but not in all. People need to have a clear idea of what they're doing in their jobs, and the role of the manager is to organize these activities. So managers often neglect this role, and they expect employees to just know what they're supposed to do. But because we can't really read minds, it's important that you know that you get an idea of what you're supposed to do, and that this idea is the same as your managers, because we can't always ensure that we're on the same page. So it's important at work and in life in general to know what is expected of you, because if you don't have this knowledge, you're going to be misunderstood and you're going to end up wasting time going in the wrong direction. So please read the article and watch the video at this following URL. As always, you can get it from downloading these slides from Call Campus. So the basics of effective goals. First of all, they need to be specific. Goals need to be measurable and quantitative. If they're too broad, there's no way of telling that they have been achieved. So they need to have numbers attached to them. They need to be incredibly specific and quantifiable. 2, they need to be challenging. So they should take you out of your comfort zone, but not be unrealistic to achieve. 3, they need to be timely. So open-ended goals create no urgency. You always need to set yourself a deadline. Even if somebody else doesn't set it for you, set yourself your own deadline. 4th, they need to be mutually determined. So if we're talking about a workplace goal or if we're talking about a college goal, they need to be agreed upon by both parties in order to succeed. Number 5 is feedback. Goal setting is an iterative process. Please Google iterative and what this means. You can't just stick to a goal if you set it 5 years ago. And we all know this to be true. How many of you are exactly where you wanted to be 5 years ago? And in a lot of cases, this is a good thing. So you can't stick to a goal that you set 5 years ago if it doesn't suit you anymore. How many of you picked the job that you wanted when you were 5? I'm sure not very many of us. So how to set these goals for others? You need to follow all of these guidelines, the basics of effective goals, but you need to set them for other people. So first of all, specify the general objectives and tasks to be done. Define what you want your employees to accomplish within this goal. And you can often get this information from the employee's job description. Next is to specify measurement. What will be considered a success? And what will mean that the goal and the behaviors will need to be revised. In other words, you might need to go back and change that goal a little bit. So again, these need to be specific and measurable. You can't use words like improve or increase, because technically you have increased social engagement if you've gotten one more follower. Your marks have improved if you went from 23% to 24%. So you need to be specific with what you will qualify as an improvement. 3 is to specify the target or the standard to be achieved. What level of performance is expected? Often employees, if they're not given an instruction or an incentive, they'll just hand in work with minimum quality. So this is the kind of goal that you can set for yourself at college. Number 4 is to specify the deadline. So this can be days to months or years. But it's really important that a reasonable amount of time is given and that employees are encouraged to stick to it. Because if you're given a really easy task to do in 8 months and that task might have taken you a day, you're probably going to leave it until the last possible moment. So in both directions, it's important to set realistic deadlines. Number 5 is to prioritize. So if you're giving more than one goal, you must help your employee to prioritize them, which is the first one, which is the most important one, and which should be achieved over the rest. Because what you think is the most important might not be the case for everyone. Number 6, connected to 5 above, is to rate goals for their difficulty and importance. So this allows you to prioritize too. If employees are given 10 goals, they might just choose the 5 easiest ones to get done, even though they aren't the most important ones. Because it's kind of nice to tick something off of a list, but it's not always the way to get things done. Number 7, determine coordination requirements. So does this goal rely on others? Do they have schedules that need to fit in with your deadlines? How are other people going to be involved, and how is that going to affect the deadline? So the next step is obtaining goal commitment. So the first thing that is involved in that is managerial support. Managers need to create a supportive environment for goal achievement. Goals should never be used to manipulate or threaten employees. That's really important. And managers need to make sure that employees have everything that they need to achieve this goal. That might mean equipment, supplies, appropriate deadlines, and other resources. Next is active participation. This is key. Participation needs to be authentic. Managers as well as employees need to engage, because employees need to know that their input is valued. If you feel like you're not valued, there's no way you're going to work as hard. Next is to know your subordinates' capabilities. The person that you're setting the goal for, what are their capabilities? Like we said already, goals need to be challenging, but we can't just give an employee too much work that's going to make them feel overwhelmed, that's going to force them to overreach past what they are capable of. Because if they're too tough, people aren't going to want to achieve them. Next is to use rewards if you can. You can offer incentives, but you can also help your employees to understand the benefits in achieving these goals. What will the payoff be for them? And finally, it helps to really clarify your expectations. There needs to be some kind of common expectation and aims, and everybody needs to pull their weight. Everybody needs to do an equal amount of work. Please complete the concept quiz on page 150 of your textbook. Pause this video and come back when you're done. The behavioral checklist for setting effective goals is to identify an employee's key job tasks, then establish specific and challenging goals for each task, identify deadlines for each goal, to allow the subordinate to actively participate, because as we mentioned before, we don't always work well with goals that are imposed upon us. Goals that we choose for ourselves are the best that we achieve. Next, we need to prioritize goals and get help from management in doing that. Rate goals for difficulty and importance. Build in some kind of feedback mechanism to assess goal progress, and to commit rewards contingent on goal attainment. And you can actually do this for yourself. If you achieve all of your goals this month or this week, you can get a takeaway for dinner or something along those lines. Small incentives really, really do drive achievement. In the next class, we're going to be looking at chapter 10 in your textbook. This chapter is on coaching, counseling, and mentoring. But before we go to this next lecture, please consider a time in your life when you have benefited from having a mentor. And ask yourself, did this mentor help you to set goals? Thanks for attending this class, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.